So yes, so the question is, or the question that we start with is, can a signal be limited in both time and frequency? So you have done signal and systems.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so have you thought about this? Has anyone thought about this?
Uh, Sir, it is not possible.
Okay, why is it? And
Uh,
Shubhashish, yes. So general question, were you taught this in class or you have
no,
just figured it out?
no, sir.
We weren't taught this in class.
No.
Sir,
So
sir, what
okay,
does it mean to be limited in time
yes.
or
So
limited in
okay,
frequency?
so let's say that I'll use my handwriting
So,
now. So
like,
I've
sir, I guess one of the reasons could be power.
Shubhashish,
Means,
let's first define, since people don't, you haven't been formally taught this, let's do this formally.
yes, sir.
So I appreciate your enthusiasm, but since many people don't know what does it mean to be limited in time and frequency, let's first define. So signal is said a signal GT GT is said to be limited in time if there exists there exist T1 and T2 such that GT let's make this an open interval. So this is the definition of limited time, and this is said to be GT is said to be limited in frequency if the Fourier transform of GT, let's move this image slightly down. Yeah. So if the Fourier transform of GT is GF, and so today I hope there are no voice issues and there's no noise, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so uh, our two body problem or our two body solution worked. And there exist F1 and F2. So the only issue now is my bad handwriting.
No, sir, it's okay. Manageable.
Oh, thank you. You're the first person who said that. Yeah. So this, and there exist F1 and F2 such that GF equal to 0 for all F in F not in. Fine. Or rather, I can say GT is right. GT equals GT times some strict T minus alpha by delta. Fine, where alpha and delta are functions of T1 and T2. Similarly, so if there exists a rectangular function with which I multiply this GT and GT doesn't change, then I can say that GT is time limited. Right? And similarly, if there exists a rectangular function in frequency with which I multiply GF and GF doesn't change, then I call GF to be frequency limited. So do these definitions sound reasonable enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, good. So we say that or we assume that our definitions are reasonable enough. Now the question that I ask this question again. Can a signal be limited in both time and frequency? Or can a signal be limited in, yes, can a signal be limited in both time and frequency?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yeah. So to elaborate on this answer, look at this signal. So this is a rectangular function. So t is on the x-axis and gt is on the y-axis. So this is the simplest time limited signal that all of us can think of, right? Minus t by 2 to t by 2. So this is basically rect of t minus capital T. Oh, sorry, not t minus capital T. This is basically rect of t over capital T. Right? Now I can see that its Fourier transform is, so where's the Fourier transform? Just a second. Copy. And meanwhile, I can, okay, so based on this, I forgot two things. So the duration of GT is T2 minus T1. This is fine. Based on this definition of GT, the duration of GT is T2 minus T1. Similarly, I say that the bandwidth of GT is F2 minus F1. Fine. This is how we basically define the duration and bandwidth of a signal. So now you have that. Now you have the basic. You have the most basic form of a signal. So now you can say that any signal any time limited. So before so you have seen the rect function, fine. So now the Fourier transform of this is copy and paste. So this is taking some time in coming here. This is an image, so I'll mark the axis while it comes. Yes, it's here. So,
Sir.
Yeah.
These notes are available to us as well, or
yes, these notes. So what I'm doing is, you know the class notebook, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So starting today, I'll be writing everything in the class notebook.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So till yesterday I was trying to use whiteboard, but then I realized that if I do everything in the class notebook, that will automatically be available to everyone. I don't have to do any extra effort.
Yes, sir.
So at the end of this, I'll share my screen again and show you how to access these notes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, great. So this is F and this is GF. This is the magnitude of GF. Fine. So the first thing that we notice is that this is not limited. This is not limited in frequency. Fine. Now for any signal GT that is time limited, I can write GT equals some xt times rect of t minus alpha by beta, where alpha and beta are arbitrary parameters. I can write any time limited signal like this. Fine. Which means, so I'll just specify that alpha and beta are arbitrary parameters. Fine. So since alpha and beta are arbitrary parameters, I can now say that, sorry, g of f equals x of f convolved with form of fine. So this is never limited in frequency. 1. 2, we know that the length of a convolution or the length of the convolution of two signals is always greater than or equal to the length of those signals alone, right? So we have a formal proof that a signal that is limited in time cannot be limited in frequency, and vice versa. Is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so for most practical signals, we won't have a direct notion of bandwidth. So any signal that you can generate, and just a second, any signal that you can generate, since that will be limited in time somehow. So defining the bandwidth is a slightly tricky issue. To solve this problem, we say that the bandwidth, so and moreover, most of the signals that we encounter will neither be limited in time nor be limited in frequency. So you say that a practical signal, what will happen is the signal decays off. It never goes to zero. That may also happen. So the time duration and the bandwidth both. So a signal can have unlimited time and unlimited frequency. That is always possible. It cannot be both limited in time and both limited in frequency. That's a problem. So this time and frequency limitation, or the idea that a signal cannot be both limited in time and limited in frequency, follows from something else that you studied. In general, in general, it can be shown that I won't be doing that, or in general, I'll just correct this. We can show that sorry, yeah. If the duration of signal is delta t, sorry about that, yeah, and its bandwidth is delta f, then delta t times delta f so this. So does this remind you of anything?
Something like Heisenberg uncertainty.
Yes, this is the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So in Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, you had three forms. Delta, so delta t times delta e greater than or equal to delta x dot delta p in one dimension. So mind that the Heisenberg's in uncertainty principle you defined only for one dimensional particle. And delta L dot delta theta. So H cross. Oh, it's 1/2 pi. Sorry. Yes. So this is basically the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. You cancel the Planck's constant, you get the same thing. So actually, this equality is valid for a Gaussian pulse, but we won't discuss that. Sorry, yeah, it's yes. So we won't discuss that the proof here. You can possibly try that out as an exercise. And now the question is, since we cannot have something limited in time or in frequency, how do we define the bandwidth and their duration? So let's talk about bandwidth. Duration is a direct extension of these. So there are multiple ways of defining the bandwidth. So the bandwidth can be defined in the following ways. One, you can talk about, so I'll change the color of the pen because so one, you can talk about the null to null bandwidth. So or first I should say that the bandwidth of, I define the bandwidth of a signal the bandwidth of a signal is defined as the set of frequencies containing a significant component of the signal. So this is another way of defining the bandwidth, the one written in red, that the bandwidth of a signal is the portion of frequencies that contains a significant bandwidth of the signal. So now how do we define significant? There are three ways of doing this, or there are three standard ways of doing this. One, what we call as null to null bandwidth. So the null to null bandwidth is the region between the two major zero crossings of the spectrum of the signal. So here for this signal, you can see that the two major zero crossings lie in this region. So this 2 over t is the the 3 dB bandwidth of a signal is defined as the range of frequencies after which the amplitude or the magnitude is the right word, not amplitude. The magnitude drops to 1 by root 2 of its maximum value, or the power drops to half. So when the magnitude will drop to 1 over root 2, the power will drop to half. So the 3 dB bandwidth. So this is the maximum value is 2. So since 2 over root 2 is root 2, so it's close to point. I don't know why this is popping up again and again. So the 3 dB bandwidth, it's just irritating. The 3 dB bandwidth in this case lies somewhere around here. So this is the 3 dB bandwidth for us. And the third definition of bandwidth. Yes? Someone wants to ask something? I believe no. Yes. So the third definition of bandwidth is the.
Sir, this
Yes.
3 dB bandwidth is the first time it drops down to
Yes,
half,
the first
after
time.
which-
The first
Okay.
time it drops to the half. Yes. Nice question. Thank you. The third definition of bandwidth that is the most frequently used is the RMS root mean squared bandwidth. So the root mean squared bandwidth is defined as equals infinity to infinity f square gf square df divided by. This is the safest version and the mathematically most sound. The other two sound heuristic. This one is on a mathematically solid ground. And similarly, like the RMS bandwidth, we can define the RMS duration of a signal as
So
yeah.
the second definition that takes care of the 3 dB bandwidth, does
Yeah.
it consider from the portion where it's 1 by root 2 of the total power till the
No,
positive?
no. The magnitude of the spectrum drops to 1 over root 2 of its maximum value.
Okay. So it would be on either side, right?
It would be on
Either side of the
either side,
axis.
yes. So since this is
So
a symmetric spectrum, so that's why it's easy. So this is symmetric about
basically
its
it
maximum
would be,
value.
B by 2 and B by 2, right? Addition.
For symmetric, in the symmetric case, yes.
Okay.
In the symmetric case, yes. In the asymmetric case, though, I don't think that you will encounter asymmetric spectra that easily. But in the asymmetric case, it's the entire range of 1/√2. So I should have drawn
basically
an asymmetric spectrum.
all the points corresponding to the power greater than 1/√2 would be considered part of the bandwidth.
Yes, but generally we don't take these definitions of bandwidth. Generally, we work with this RMS definition of the bandwidth.
Okay, sir.
So since this is mathematically elegant and it helps us a lot eventually.
And sir, what is meant by WRMS?
RMS bandwidth.
Okay.
This is the RMS bandwidth.
So the TRMS is
RMS duration.
okay.
Fine. So this is called the RMS. Sorry, this duration. Fine. And that
So,
actually that Heisenberg's uncertainty principle that is defined for the RMS bandwidth, because this is the mathematically tractable definition. So what the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, just a second, let me write this out and then I'll answer.
Okay, sir.
This is the form that I leave out as a homework and potential test problem. That's why I'm not solving this. This is intentional. Yes.
See, sir, the RMS duration is for the time limited time limited signal, right?
A signal that is not time limited.
Okay.
So see, let's draw a chart. So a signal can be limited in time and non-limited in frequency. That's one. A signal can be non-limited in time and limited in frequency. That's another thing. A signal can be non-limited in both time and frequency. A signal cannot be limited in both time and frequency. Just keep this basic idea clear. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So we have defined the idea of bandwidth for a signal.
So,
now, yeah.
So like the other two, can you show that WRMS on the sin x by x function?
That will be hard. Because see, this is calculated mathematically. So if I want to do it.
No, sir, I'm asking if it's like minus WRMS from 0 and like WRMS from 0.
It'll be. So you'll have to calculate this.
Yes.
And calculating this, I can show you the MATLAB code for this. Should I? Okay, let me show you the MATLAB code for this. And then you can calculate this for yourself. Okay, so I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute. So I'll just switch. So now you should be able to see a MATLAB window, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so let's first define a rectangular function. So let's say t equals -10 or -5 is -5 to 0.01. So everything will in MATLAB, one problem is that everything we have to do is for discrete things. 0.01 to 5. ET, I would say, is for say t on rather yeah, this would be the better way of doing things. So for t equals minus half to half, first I'll define the simplest way. GT equals zeros 1, 400 ones fine. So test. I'll call this script test1 and t equals minus 5 to 0.01 to 5. So just for completeness, I'll include the 0 and so this will be 1001 samples. So plot the first thing t comma gt. Run. So this is a rectangular function, right?
Yes, sir.
So now let's say GF equals FFT. So FFT is the fast Fourier transform. You will be doing this in your DSP course. DSP is running this semester, right?
Yes, sir.
Professor Hanuman Shekhawat would be teaching it.
Yes,
Who is
yes,
teaching
sir.
DSP?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Hanuman Singh ji is teaching it. Excellent. So you'll be doing DSP this semester. So plot. So in a separate figure, I would plot I'll simply plot GF. It's so the frequency would give me trouble right now. So I'll simply plot GF and because FFT is slightly different, or plot ABS of GF, the absolute value of GF, the magnitude spectrum. And I run this. So this is the time domain and this is the frequency domain. So actually what it does is the magnitude spectrum that we see is from minus infinity to infinity. The 0 is in the middle. So here 0 is at an end. And why this is repeating like this you'll cover in your DSP course, but consider just the first 512 or the first 500 points. So this is symmetric about 0 and it starts with this is 0 and if I zoom into this portion, you see that this is basically something like the sinc function, right?
Yes, sir.
So now if I have to calculate its bandwidth, so in the other two cases, the bandwidth can be measured. So here the bandwidth comes more like so the bandwidth in this case, say WRMS will be, or say I'll first define the numerator sum and so I take just the first 500 values. So sum 1 to 500. So I have to normalize that with the frequency So the sampling frequency is 100 Hertz. So F actually equals 100, or rather so this sampling, you have done sampling in signal systems?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm doing a sampling normalization here. That so this has to be between 0 or so the frequency has to be between 0 and 1 over 1001, and normalized by the number of samples, and 1. This, and then numerator is star ABS denominator is WRMS. I write square root of numerator by denominator. Fine. And if I run this, sorry, there is a problem. Oh yeah, so it should be dot star, element wise multiplication. So WRMS is this 0.63. So WRMS is a number. Actually, you cannot show it graphically. That's one issue. But mathematically, or when we actually talk about signal, this is what matters. Make sense?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So sorry, I wasn't able to give much physical intuition into this, but actually this is all the physical intuition that there is about it. So
Yes, sir. Yes.
yeah, so coming back. Oh, so the screen sharing stopped. I'll share my screen again. Oh. So yes, you can see the screen again, right? So let's continue. So now we have a bandwidth. Now we have a notion of bandwidth. Now so have you come across these terms earlier? Low pass and band pass signals. Low pass and band pass signals. Have you come across these terms?
Sir, we know
Yes.
low pass and band pass filters.
You know low pass and band pass filters. So I'll
Yes,
use
sir.
that idea to define low pass and band pass signals. So we can actually use that idea of low pass and band pass filters to define low pass and band pass signals. So define a low pass filter. Or how do you say that if I want to draw the frequency response of a low pass filter, how does it look? So say this is F and this is GF. Now assume that this is a low pass filter, or I'll even erase this line. You tell me the tell me the location of x-axis, the y-axis as well. Yeah.
So what did you ask?
So
Exactly.
how do you draw the frequency characteristic of this filter? You guide me as I do
So
this.
actually in the y direction it would be 1 continuously 1 for till some frequency f, and then it would be 0.
That's an ideal filter.
For real filters it would be like
Yes,
it would,
that's fine. So this is basically a low pass signal looks like this. So it's centered around 0. It goes from f1 to f2. I have on purpose made it asymmetric. Fine. And this is a general low pass signal. If the signal is real valued in time, then this would be symmetric.
so isn't it like baseband signal?
Yeah, this is a baseband signal or a low pass signal. So a baseband signal is a low pass signal. You know what are passband signals?
Sir, this is a low pass. This is the frequency response of a low pass filter, or this is a low pass signal in itself?
So this is both actually. A low pass filter allows only low frequencies to pass. A low pass signal is a signal which passes through a low pass filter simply, or which would easily pass through a low pass filter. That's that's the layman definition that you can. That's how you can remember it.
So we can say that the output of the low pass filter is a low pass signal.
That would be stretching things too much.
Okay.
Okay, and for a real valued signal, if GT is real valued, so if GT is real valued, then oh sorry, this has to be symmetric. If GT is real valued, minus W to W 0, GF and F on the x-axis. Fine. Now, similarly, using this analogy, can you define a bandpass signal?
So the bandpass signal would be just like what you had drawn for.
So let's say this is some FC. This is minus FC minus W. This is minus FC plus W. There's a discontinuity here. FC, FC minus W, FC plus W, and FC this. This is what we call a band pass, or at times pass band signal. So actually the term low pass signal is used interchangeably with baseband signal, and the term band pass signal is used interchangeably with passband signal. Fine. So in general, Sorry. In general, can express a passband signal as GT equals AT cos phi FCT plus phi t. Fine. So you see that this is some signal, and it has been, so basically what this is, that AT cos 2 pi FCT means in the frequency domain AF convolved with, if we ignore this phi t I'll explain later. So AF convolved with delta F minus FC plus delta, and so this can be this when frequency shifted to 0 can be AF, and these are the two frequency shifted copies of the same signal. So this is the general form of a this is the general form of a bandpass signal, and I can write I'll again write the general form of the bandpass signal as AT cos 2 pi FCT plus phi t. Fine. Any doubts with this? Or this is you can define it this way. Yeah, Shubhashish.
Sir, the symmetry is maintained.
Yes, so we'll eventually prove that. We'll eventually prove this. Just to start the discussion, consider this as the general form of a passband signal. Fine. So now I can write, based on the little trigonometry that we remember from class 11th. I'll write this as AT cos 2 pi FCT cos phi t. Fine. Minus AT sin 2 pi FCT sin phi t. Fine. Now let GIT equal AT cos phi t, GQT equal AT sin phi t. Then GT equals GIT cos 2 pi FCT minus GQT sin 2 pi. This is okay. I can also, from this, since this is a 2 variable to 2 variable transform, I can write AT equals root over GIT square plus GQ. Fine. And phi t equals tan inverse so this is a 2 to 2 transform. I won't say 1-to-1 mapping because that would be correct. So this is a 2 to 2 mapping, and therefore I can write GT as this, Now let's consider something else. Let's define the function g tilde t as git plus j, where j is the square root of -1. Fine. So I write j as the square root of -1 as j. You are comfortable with this? Or do you use something else?
Yes, sir. J is comfortable.
Okay, you're comfortable with j. Fine. So j is the square root of -1. I write, I define g tilde. So this thing is called tilde. And we'll use this quite often. So B means get slightly accustomed to this. And now I can write g tilde t e to the power j 2 pi fct as git plus j gqt cos 2 pi fct plus j sine 2 pi fct equals git cos 2 pi fct minus gqt sine 2 pi fct plus j git sine 2 pi fct plus gqt cos 2 pi fct. The significance of this I and Q maybe we'll explore later. But right now just assume that there is these are called I and Q. And then now I can say that based on this GT is nothing but the real part of G tilde T J. Fine. This is okay. So yeah, Adit, tell me. You wanted to
No,
say
sir, I was
something?
just saying yes, sir, it is okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine. So this no, so what I see is, so this, if in terms of Fourier transform, corresponds to this corresponds to frequency translation, right? And
Yes.
therefore, if I take this form of a, so passband signal is nothing but the real part of a frequency shifted complex valued signal G tilde T, where this G tilde T is called complex envelope of GT. Fine. Now, doing some more mathematical jugglery, we know that the real part of z for any complex number is z plus z complex conjugate divided by 2. Equivalently, I can write g of t as g tilde t e to the power j 2 pi fct plus g tilde t e to the power or g tilde conjugate t minus 2 pi fct by 2 divided by 2. Fine. Therefore, using the properties of Fourier transform, so g tilde f minus fc plus so I'll make this symmetric and this is fine. Using the frequency shift property and the complex conjugation property of the Fourier transform, I get this. And now if we have GIT and GQT, we can construct the passband signal GT as, so I'll use another color of the pen. Okay, so we are almost out of time. So I'll just draw this figure and then we'll stop. For some reason, the eraser. Yeah, the eraser is working now. So GIT cos 2 pi fct sorry for the asymmetry, sin 2 pi fct GQT and you can plus minus and you get GT. Fine. So this is how you generate the a bandpass signal from its baseband components GIT and GQT. Note that both GIT and GQT are real valued baseband signals. Now the question that one can ask is, given GT, can we extract GIT and GQT? The answer is obviously yes. How? We'll look at it tomorrow. So any questions till now?
Sir.
Yeah.
GIT is being multiplied with cos 2 pi fct.
Yes.
But it was being multiplied by e to the power j 2 pi k 2 pi fct, and the second one was minus.
Look at this. GT. This is how I defined GT.
Yeah, yes, I remember. Okay.
Yeah. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Great. So everything else I believe was straightforward. So we can disperse for the day and continue tomorrow. Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Bye. Have a nice day,
Yes,
all
sir.
of you.
Bye, sir.
Thanks.